This week on Fade to Obsidian, we will be discussing Golden Sun, chapters 14 through 24, or for those keeping track of titles, The Sovereign through Bacon and Eggs. We recommend that you have actually read the book, thereby avoiding spoilers. Please be aware that this episode contains discussions about violence, yes, there's plenty of that, death, Pierce kills somebody, and strong language, so don't be a pixie bitch. Viewer discretion and listener discretion is advised.
Welcome everybody back to Fade to Obsidian. I am Skipper, joined as always by Crescent. And this week we are joined by Hawking. Welcome,
Hey.
Hawking.
Like Crescent.
Thanks for joining us. Everybody wants to be like Crescent, except for Crescent.
Tell us who are you? Why are you Hawking? What's the story here?
So Salem is the one that named me. And it mainly came from two questions, which was, what do you do for a living, and is it what you always wanted to do? Which I've always loved space. I actually wanted to be an astronomer, but never even went down that path I wish. I mean, my background is from the New Weber telescope. I've always been fascinated by space. And then her last question, which was to ask her anything, is a question I like to ask a lot of people, although puts a lot of people off guard, which is, what do you think happens when you die? Which is the other thing I'm super fascinated on, just what people think, whether it's religious based, nothing happens, you just come back as another life. Just like know what people think happens. And so she thought that was very Stephen Hawking-esque, and that's where Hawking came from.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
That is a very solid.
Yeah.
Or theoretical, depending on how you want to look at it.
That works.
Yep. Yeah, that's awesome. I had no idea. I had not gone back and some people I go back and lurk of like, where did this? But that's awesome. I didn't know that. There you go.
That's like when you guys did when you did all the mods. I went back and read all of those because I was interested in how this all came to be.
Yeah. Yeah, that was
What
fun.
did you end up doing?
Oh yeah, what is your
as a career?
It's boring. I'm a data analyst for an insurance company. So basically, I predict how many calls are going to come into a call center and figure out how many people we need to hire, and it's just number based.
Yep.
But I mean, it's not a bad job. It pays well. It's not hard. But I miss that I didn't at least try to go down that path.
It's fair.
It's never too late, though.
Never too late. You can always change your career. Yep. But, go shoot for the stars.
This book also has obviously a lot to do with space, so
yes,
it's a good reason what's my favorite series.
Yeah. How did you come across the book? Like, how did you find it?
It was a guy that I work with at my job. He was reading the first book. I don't know how he came across it, but he recommended it to me. And so I read the first one and then blew through the second one. And I actually looked. I think I really got into it right when Morningstar came out.
Yeah.
So after I read the first two books, I went straight to the bookstore and bought the third one. And actually, I didn't even realize it probably because I've never actually physically read the books. I have all of them, but I'm an audio listener through and through. But I just realized it's a signed book. Morningstar is. It's just on the shelf. Yeah.
Nice.
You just randomly came across a signed I love that. Okay. Yep. You must live then like near a major city or something that he did a signing, or was it a used bookstore? Like, that's crazy.
I live in Southeast Virginia. Which, I mean, technically it's probably the biggest area outside. Actually, the city I live in is the most populated. In Virginia. So I don't know if he came here. I never actually looked, but I would have read.
I was gonna say he definitely. I'm trying to think. He
would
had
go to
one.
DC.
DC was Dark Age, but I'll look it up because I know a bunch of the OG Howlers met up with him in some like Virginia-esque area, and he actually went for drinks with a bunch of them because it was so off the beaten track. So for Morningstar Tour, he was somewhere not in. I'll have to look it up, but it sounds like, yeah. But either way, kudos to you for managing to find
that's
that.
An awesome, just random score.
Yeah. Nice.
I'm gonna be sad if you tell me he went out to drink with people around here and I wasn't in the fandom yet.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be sad.
Yeah, I'll look it up for you after.
And how recently did you find out that it's signed?
Actually, I noticed after I bought it, but I didn't really think anything of it. I didn't really come in to start collecting it probably until Iron Gold, when they really started ramping up all the merch and stuff.
Yeah.
So I noticed it and it was cool, but I guess it wasn't my favorite series at that point, although it pulled me in. But I think I read the series 7-8 times a year.
Wow.
I just cycle between this and another series.
A year? 7-8? Oh,
yep,
so you...
That's what I do.
Oh my
I'm
God.
very much like Crescent. Read it on 1.8 speed, and I'll blow through it, and then I'll start right back over. My wife thinks I'm crazy, but...
I am sitting here with probably the two most knowledgeable people in maybe the entire fandom. I am not ready for this. I'm just going to throw questions at you the whole time and not give my opinion on anything. It'll be fine.
Ooh.
Luckily, this is collaborative, not adversarial.
No, for sure. I just feel like anything, I'm going to be like, that's like a thing. I've read this. It's fine. Yeah.
I was gonna say, it's funny how often, like, even though I've read it so many times, even going through this, obviously I'm much more detail oriented, but I picked up on a few things that I'm sure we'll come across that I never realized before.
That's always my favorite thing about doing this. Rereads in general is you're gonna find something new, but while we've been doing it with the Den of the read through of what people pick up, that I'm like, oh, is that like a thing? And you can, I think, reread them each time and look for something completely different and just focus on one thing. And yeah, it's layered. There's layers.
I'm really enjoying all of the like little things that people are noticing. Like, Lauren is narrow backwards.
Yeah, that was mind-blowing to me.
I never even picked up on that.
Yeah.
It's also, there's so much foreshadowing that you miss.
Oh, yeah.
Going back through, like, wow, he called it way ahead of time if you just pay attention.
Yeah, for sure. Well, before we get in, Crescent, what are you drinking tonight?
I am drinking a nice scotch. It's called Highland Park 12 Viking Honor. I picked this one because we get our favorite Viking giant this week. So cheers to that.
Yeah.
What about you, Skipper?
I am honoring the other new addition to the cast, if you will, which is our favorite blue, probably the first blue we actually speak to. Well, no, that's not true. There's one in kind of the first chapter. But the first blue that we have a name, which is Orion. So this is a French 75, which is a twist on a mimosa. So it is gin, sparkling wine, and lemon juice. And then I added my favorite little sparkles so it can be real blue. And you can't really see, but I can see that it's sparkling. So there you go. I'm going to rename it though, like...
And sparkles.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be a French 75, but I feel like I should rename it after, like, blue and Eiffel 65, so we'll just call it, like, the Orion 65 instead of a French 75. I'm going with it.
Perfect. Send that one to Fabled Spirits.
I will.
They're getting a shout out today. Everybody go check out Fabled Spirits. They're the ones that made
the shit escalates.
Oh, what did they call it? The shit escalates,
The shit escalates. Yeah,
for the bacchanal.
Yeah, we love them. They follow us on Instagram. We follow them. So cheers to them. Cheers to Ragnar and Orion. And yeah,
And
let's.
our resident hydrator, Hawking, does
Hawking's
not
got
have
that
any alcohol,
hydration.
so he's playing the part of Hydro and
Hydra
drinking
will be
water today.
very proud of you.
I
Yeah.
can say I chose water since most of our favorite characters are close to drowning in this set of chapters.
Very true.
Fair.
A little stretch, but I'll take it.
Yeah.
Yep, very true. All right. Well, we had a mini discussion before we started about how we're going to tackle these. So it is chapters 14 to 24. It is only 10 chapters, but these are dense chapters. So we are going to do our best to, instead of our normal jump around and talk about relationships and how over the course of whatever they manifest, I think we have to kind of stick to what happens in each chapter, or else we're going to miss something major.
Yeah.
So to kick it off, chapter 14 is Octavia, is it not?
Yep, it's
Yeah.
called
So it's
Sovereign.
our meeting with Octavia, and we get Adja and Lysander. It's all of
A
our
little bit of
favorite
Fitchner.
people. Yeah, a little bit of Fitchner, which is one of our favorite people.
Yeah. Yeah.
You definitely learn that with these set of chapters that there's a ton of world building and character building. Like you learn so much about people that we have, like you get glimpses of. Like in this chapter, you learn that Octavia, like Aja, isn't just Octavia's right hand. They're related. Like they're
Mm-hmm.
family. Um, like Lysander is her grandson. She is uh, sister-in-law to the Ash Lord. Trying to remember how that plays down. Um, but
Yeah.
it's not just a tight knit group; like it's a family at the top, and they definitely want to stay there.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Octavia interests me so much. I would love to know her background because we get just these little tidbits of, what she's done, why she's sovereign, and how she's been able to hold that power. Like she's just so fascinating to me, and just these little like, didn't she kill her dad? Like that's part of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That
Yes,
is how
she
she
has
came
a
to be the sovereign. So we don't learn the actual story until a little bit
yet.
later.
Yep.
But yeah, she decides she's had enough of her father and it's like, oh, well,
Yeah.
We
and
find
ends up the sovereign because of it.
Yeah, we learned that she's been
No,
sovereign for 40 years now. She's over 100.
I think 60, I think.
60. Wow.
Maybe she
Yeah.
got it when she was 40.
Yeah.
But a long
Yeah,
time.
because oh yeah, absolutely. Because the burning of Rhea was 60 years before. And that was after she'd become sovereign.
Yeah.
We learned cellular regeneration is a thing in this world, which is what all the golds are trying to do to keep themselves young. Octavia especially.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
get the blue veins. Is weird to imagine, kind of. It's
Mm-hmm.
like instead of your bloodshot red eyes, they're shot with blue.
Yeah. The world building in this chapter alone, like,
Mm-hmm.
it's just insane of what we learn in such a short amount. Not well, and the world building, and then he mixes it in with everything we're learning of how the dynamics work between the families, why the gala has exploded, and like how she's holding on to certain people and trying to get rid of the Augustuses. Like, it's crazy. What was your first thoughts when reading through? I'm gonna say probably for me the biggest thing was the oracles.
Mm-hmm.
So this mentality of like the thing whatever, like, what serpent, scorpion, spider thing that she can use to, like, get lies out of people. What was our feelings towards? If we can
The
remember
first,
back that time.
even still now, it's just trying to envision it because it says it has 3 blind eyes. It's pit viper, it's scorpion, and centipede.
Centipede,
And
that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
and centipede and pit viper seem like they go really hand in hand. So is it just a long snake with a bunch of legs and it just has a tail, or a
Yeah, just
scorpion tail? It does say it wraps around his arm, so
yes.
maybe
Yeah,
kind of.
I would imagine that the legs kind of wrap around like this.
Oh yeah, I'm thinking little spindly legs, but it's probably got.
It's got like the scorpion,
Hey,
maybe
Well,
many
I
of the scorpion legs.
yeah.
Somebody do up
Uh,
some fan art
or I
for
mean
us,
like
please.
on the scale of pit viper, like centipede on the scale of pit viper would have like relatively
yeah.
long legs.
Yeah.
So that's always been my thought is like it basically crawls down his arm, latches on, and kind of wraps like this. And then its stinger is up. Or it, crawls up this way, and then the stinger's ready to.
Yeah. We don't exactly know how it works, if it's based on heart rate, because we know that Aja can, like, from the other side of the room, knows Darrow's heart rate, or if,
Mhm.
Yeah,
like,
which is a whole other level of ridiculous.
mm-hmm.
They mention it, and I can't remember the third one. It goes off of temperature in the blood, your heart rate, and something else. I want to say it deals with sweat. They briefly mention it. Um, it still doesn't quite explain how it can learn if you lie, especially in the one part when it talks about why he goes to Lost City. Like, he doesn't lie. They ask where he went. He says Lost City, but it feels like it's holding back. So, like,
Right.
how much truth do you actually have to give? I mean, he technically didn't lie. He went
He
to
didn't
Lost City. He
lie.
just didn't say why.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right, because he, like, knows to give more before it
Hmm.
relents. Yeah. I don't know. It's a
Um,
fascinating thing.
but we also learned that Octavia's played this game 72 times, 71 times, and she's only trusted one person. And I want to know who that one person is.
I had that exact same thought about
Ooh.
15 minutes ago.
Like, it
Um,
can't be
so
anybody family wise, like in the Grimace family.
No, I feel like she wouldn't necessarily play it with. Well, she might play it with her family, but there's no real. Like, why would you?
Hmm.
mhm.
And we know she doesn't do it with Fitchner, although I think that might be a little bit of a continuity error because they talk about how Fitchner is surprised at what the Oracle looks like. But he
Mm.
also mentions that when asked to play, he tells her to shove the box up her cooch. So maybe he just never saw what was in it. And
That's right.
Yeah,
That he
that
just knew,
that's
like, I
basically
don't
my
want part of
thought is
this. I
he's
don't want
just
part of
like
this.
I don't want any part of any game
hmm
you're trying to play here.
yeah,
Um,
he's the last man
so
that should play that game.
yeah, no
Yeah.
doubt. Um, I
Trying to
found where
think.
it mentions it. So it says it's in fluctuations of temperature, chemicals in the blood, and pulse of the heart.
Mm.
Chemicals
Okay.
in the blood.
Yeah, I would assume like stress hormone.
Yeah. Although if you got a snake wrapped around your arm, I can only
I
imagine
I'm
what
gonna
his
be
stress level is.
stressed out the moment, which I think is the thing, is Aja says that Darrow's heart rate goes up the moment she, like, he sees it,
Hmm.
right? Like, that's her comment of, like, he was sitting at this and is now at this. And like,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, as
65.
we
Aja
all
says
would.
of my pulse. He was resting at 29 beats per minute. Which,
Yeah.
wow,
Yeah.
Yeah.
crazy.
Crazy. But yeah.
So then,
Uh,
just after the introduction of the oracles, when they're in the middle of playing, a Mustang shows up, and the paradigm gets
Yes.
altered.
Yeah.
that's where Octavia screws herself. And real quick before we move on, I think it's the first time, again, world building, that we learn about Zanzibar the Carver, that he's the one
Mm.
that makes this.
Yeah,
Um,
I believe that's
Yes.
even the first time he's mentioned.
hmm and really the first violet carver that we know of outside of Mickey. I think that's outwardly stated.
Yeah, I think they say that they
Yeah.
exist, but Zanzibar is the first one to get a name. It might
Yeah.
be the
Yeah,
only
because there's
other one to get. At the moment, I'm genuinely going off the board game, in which Zanzibar is in there and Mickey is in there as carvers, and I don't remember anyone else being named. There's like a whole bunch of random violets named in there that.
I don't think the other one is there yet when that board game came out.
That's true. But yeah, so we do get Zanzibar, which is very cool. Yeah. But yeah, and then yeah, so we know so Mustang comes in, which is gonna throw off Darrow and Octavia a little bit because that's when you're gonna we see her eventual loss of the game essentially because she's the one who has to end up telling she lies about wanting to kill Mustang's family.
Yeah, and I believe this is the first time Octavia has ever lost this game.
Yeah, and then we find out how really deadly Fitchner can be, considering as soon as she lies, he's able to get his razor out and basically take the tail off the Oracle before it has a chance to get to her. It's got to
Yeah,
be some crazy speed.
faster than a bee beats its wings is
Mm-hmm.
the exact quote. Like was he standing there, or did he
He
get
had to be
across
ready
the
for it.
room and just?
I have to assume he was right beside him. And then maybe once Darrow asked that question, knowing what
Knowing
was
that's
going to
gonna
happen.
come. Well, because doesn't
Yeah.
everyone kind of take a breath of like, oh shit, this is the one? Like even Aja's like,
Yeah.
we're screwed. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
What's crazy is that they're still willing to trust Darrow. It's obvious that he knows who the Sons of Ares are and that they work for him. Um, because she asked him specifically um, if Nero's Ares, and he immediately says no. And how would
yeah,
you have that answer unless
yeah,
you
and
had an idea?
yeah, that is just. I've never thought of that, but that yeah, technically your response should be, I don't know.
Although that would be a lie, though. Well, no. Well, actually,
No, because he
no,
doesn't know
that
who
yeah,
Ares
that's
is. He
true.
doesn't know.
I think it's safe to assume it's not Nero, but I
That's
guess we don't know for
probably
Yeah,
sure.
you'd think.
yeah, yeah. I never thought about that. That like yeah, that could be the double bluff as it were.
This is also where we learn that the Sons of Ares aren't uh, just located in Mars, because they have the uprising that's happening in Venus at the same time.
Yes.
Yep.
So we're starting to see that that spark is expanding a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and actually, Octavia talks about they're in the process of a massive strike that's theoretically going to end the Sons of Ares system wide. So I guess we'll see how that unfolds in later chapters.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't think
There's
we can spoil that
Could
even
be
a little.
bad.
um. So this week's out of context was really just we ended up with you as our guest.
Mm-hmm.
And then Badger joined us, and I didn't pull the quote because it was only the one, but she referred to Aja as a predator. What are our
Mm-hmm.
feelings towards that? Like, how do we see? What was your first impression of Aja? We talked about how she's related, but having this person sit in kind of the corner, knowing everything. What are and this can then lead into the next chapter because we see more and more of Aja as we go on.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
okay,
I
Crescent.
was yeah, I very much had the same kind of first impression as Badger. It's like this is the apex predator.
Mm-hmm.
Um Yeah, like Darrow talks about how for the first time he can remember, he looks away from a threat and it's like, oh, that's a bad motherfucker.
And all she did was smile at him while she was holding
Yeah.
left-hander.
Yeah.
You get all these stories of how dangerous she is, but you really don't ever meet her. But these chapters give you a lot. One, Darrow backs away, which is the first time he ever does it. I know we're skipping ahead a little bit, but when she's
That's
out
good.
by the lagoon, she is literally cutting raindrops in half with her razor while she's
Yeah,
talking
just
to him.
casually.
Yeah. And then Quinn, who's always been described as the fastest howler, she gets away from everything, and Aja is on her in a heartbeat with 4 punches to her temple before Darrow blinks. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is the fastest
Yep.
goal that we've been introduced so far, and Aja completely decimates her.
Yeah.
Uh, it definitely puts her as a huge threat on the board.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's a terrifying human being.
Hmm I think even Fitchner, when Darrow's taunting her, he's like, "This is not the person or place that you should be
Yeah.
Yeah,
making these
just
idle threats
Yeah,
to."
no.
it's like the true masters of the blade don't duel for sport.
Hmm
Um, was it? So, she'll gut you like a pig, boyo. Don't give a piss if Lauren taught you how to wipe your ass. Think twice on who you insult here. The true blades of the society do not duel for sport, so mind your gory damn tongue.
Yeah.
That is a very thorough warning.
Yeah,
At this point, and me being the one who edits things, I will take this. Do we know that she is also trained by Lauren at this point?
Uh, it it does say just before that. Give me a second. So yeah, it's literally the same place, the exact page before. She's one of the Olympic Knights, the Protean Knight to be technic. She was Lauren's last student before me, though he didn't
Okay.
teach her everything.
Yeah. So we know that, like, she's good. Not only
Yeah.
clearly having probably natural skills or family, but like then trained by Lauren and being an Olympic Knight, being one of the Furies, being just, yeah, she's
Yeah, so
probably
she's just stacking reps.
she's just everything. She's everything. Yeah, she's something. Yeah,
a force to be reckoned with for sure. I mean, there's a
definitely.
Yeah.
reason she is the right hand person of the sovereign. Like, there's not anybody else better in that position if you want to protect yourself and rule for 60 years. You need a true killer that nobody else can beat, which is the way they portray her.
Yeah, and that is completely loyal to you.
Hmm
Yeah. Um. So we get the oracles. We get then the uh
We also
the truth about Mustang, or sorry, about Octavia wanting to kill Nero and the whole family. And so then, but at the same time, Darrow then signs on, even rather briefly, to the sovereign side. Uh, Thoughts, feelings, next steps.
My initial thought, because they tell you he gets 50 million for his servants and then another 10 million. So $60 million or credit to betray your friends. I mean, I'm not that big of an asshole, but that's a lot of money just to not die.
Would you portray your friends and not die for 60 million? Let's put in dollars
No.
instead of credits. No, you wouldn't.
No, I'm thinking of my two best friends. I don't know that I would feel too much
no.
guilt, but like
That's true. The
putting
guilt.
myself in his shoes, there's so, I mean, Fitchner's right. There's so much you can do from this position. Like to be uh, in the sovereign's good graces, you can move up
Mm-hmm.
to levels that Nero can't get you at. So I mean, it's a heck of a deal, but we obviously know from the earlier parts of the book that Darrow is a very loyal person. So it's not surprising he turns it down.
Yeah. Crescent, would you
Yeah.
sell out your friends?
No, absolutely not.
I would consider
glad
it.
you
I'm
didn't
not gonna
hesitate.
lie.
Like what?
I'm not gonna lie. Might consider it.
All right, beware, Skipper's friends.
I'm just saying, like, can I buy them back after, like, once I betray them?
Well, no, they're dead.
Yeah, they're dying.
Oh, right.
But we also learned from this that
All right. Then guilt. Okay, fine.
they buy servants. Like there's a market where you can go to buy pinks and yellows. Seems really archaic and sad if you really think about it.
Yep.
Yep.
True
For
slavery.
an incredibly advanced society, they have slavery.
Yeah.
Not great.
Well, like,
Not great.
I don't know. In my mind, I didn't think, as much as we love Theodora, and she clearly is one of the more, like, higher of the pinks, I didn't necessarily think she was taking in a salary. I assumed she was there somewhat by force. So, yeah, it's definitely problematic.
I would say, obviously, Darrow probably doesn't want to be employing low colors and by slavery.
Yeah.
But like, probably doesn't have much of a choice, right? Like that's
no.
Like he has to, or otherwise it's like, why? Like, why are you trying to pay your slaves? Are you a Democrat? And
yeah. Which, well, we'll get on later in the chapters when we start to see some of the lower ones of what respect they give golds versus, you know, how Darrow wants to treat them is, I think, a huge discussion. And then later on, even, we'll see it more and more as maybe some of the golds come to Darrow's side on this. No spoilers, just spoil just a little bit, but I think that it is an ongoing discussion towards the whole series of, like, what does that relationship with the lower colors look like?
We get a brief view with the pink that's in his room. She's just in his room naked, waiting for him.
Yeah, it doesn't. He's like, just get dressed or like cover up. Like he throws something at her. Like, I don't want to look at you. I don't want to look at you. Like, stop this.
But at the same time, we learn that pinks have this aura about them because even Darrow, who's been hard pressed against pinks, mentions how looking at her briefly makes him forget about Io or Mustang.
Yeah,
like it brings something out of them, and it's just like she's not even talking; she's just there, and she has that ability.
Yeah.
It's pretty insane.
For sure. Well, moving into that section, so we see him go back to his room with the pink there, and then we get he gets the message of hide, and then what I think is one of the best re-entrances of all time is the Howlers coming back.
Like the ugliest angel shit out of heaven.
It's so good.
It's so good.
It's 9 Howlers that return? Yep, 9 Howlers in total.
Yeah. Which, out of curiosity, can we name them? So we know Severo, Pebble, now I'm the, Clown. Thistle's there.
Yeah, you're
right?
up here, Skipper.
Oh, yeah.
I know. Why did I do this? Why did I put myself?
Pebble, Clown.
So is Thistle there?
Thistle's there.
Mm-hmm.
Weed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Quinn.
Yeah.
I don't know, and 3 others.
Yep. You know them.
Do I know them?
You should.
Oh, maybe.
Shit. I don't know. Who's the other 3? I'm blanking.
Rotback, Harpy, Screwface.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Damn it. Okay.
It's okay. You got
I got
66%
six.
of the way there.
Yeah.
That's a passing grade.
More than.
Yeah.
Because I got.
No. You got 6 out of 9. That's 66%.
Mm-hmm.
No, 6 out of 10
2/3.
is 66%. No.
No, that's 60%.
Okay, never mind. I don't do math.
At least you know you won't ever be a blue.
Yeah.
I want to be a blue so bad, but no.
Well, you have the navigation part. Who needs the math?
Yeah, exactly.
You're
I
obviously a
just
daughterhead at
guessed.
astrophysics.
Yeah. But yeah, we get the Howlers come back in full glory to rescue Darrow because Mustang has sent for them. Which
ties. I was going to say, which ties into a little nod from the chapter before when she is playing with the gold ring on her hand. That is the ring that Darrow gave her when he left for the institute or for the academy. Sorry, and that's how he knows she was on his side.
yeah, never doubt Mustang. Never doubt her. I mean, when she shows up with the guy you've got a blood feud with at the ball, I mean, maybe doubt her just slightly, but overall,
Yeah, she's got
there for
she's
him.
got her reasons though.
Yeah,
Which
so.
we find out about. Like,
Yep.
there's a reason she's trying to protect her family.
Yeah.
She even mentions when she sees Darrow that she feels like the earth opens up underneath her because she feels like a fraud. Like she's not supposed to be with Cassius.
Yeah. Yeah. So the discussion that we had in Out of Context was, when did she send from? So it's 6 months to get from Pluto to Mars. At what point? Why did she feel they were needed? Like, I want to know. She clearly has been hanging out on Luna and knows something's up, but like, to have that foresight to be like, the Howlers will be needed, and not just for her. Like, as much as the Howlers are loyal a little bit to her, I think she knows that they are loyal to Darrow, and she is kind of the second fiddle of like. So I just love that, like, that she had that 6 months out, and then it's just very convenient that they show up. Well, maybe they were sitting in some like hotel down the street. I'm just picturing it, like waiting for go time. But
I think they mentioned they've been there for a few weeks, and I think the only reason they mentioned that they're there is Mustang knew that she needed someone that wasn't going to be loyal to the Sovereign. But whether she had foresight or not on what was happening, obviously she didn't know her parents were going to, or her family was going to die. But
no, but she knew that she had to have a reason to bring them back for 6 months prior. Like, this isn't a, like, there's been shit going down at the gala, or, like, when he got beat up in the garden, oh my god, he's gonna need help. Like, she knew something was gonna go down. And then to wait of, like, just hold off until after the gala, because something will be happening.
I'm just trying to think.
Severo has a good line when he shows up. Lord Reaper, you look like a pixie ponce in this lady den. Severo sweeps into a theatrical bow after he places the bag at my feet. Perhaps that's why Mustang believed you were in dire need of your gory damn pack. It's like, yep. That is exactly why she called them back.
Yep.
And then immediately after that, we've been here several weeks on standby. She needed men she knew wouldn't be loyal to the Sovereign.
Yeah.
And we know they came from Pluto. I'm just imagining whatever they were doing. Anyway. Wherever they were, they just up and left. I'm just imagining what
pace.
Like whoever's running whatever's happening on Pluto. If there's just like all of a sudden 9 people are gone.
Peace out. We have better things to do. Yeah.
The Reaper calls. You gotta go.
You gotta go.
I guess it was Mustang that called.
Mustang. Like, did she get a doctor's note? Like, like a written, like, sorry, the daughter of the governor of Mars has called me back. Arch governor has called me back. Here's my like doctor's note on why I get to go. What does that look like? Yeah.
I imagine they just left and didn't say anything. I don't think Sever really
Oh,
cares about
Severo.
retiring.
Severo's like, I'm loyal to nobody. I don't need anybody. I'll get a new job. It'll be fine. Yeah, Severo's fine. Especially because at this point we know that Severo's dad's probably making bank. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
Severo doesn't care. Someone will pay the phone bills. It'll be fine. The
all the
hollow Q
long
bills.
distance fees on his unicorn porn hollows.
Yeah, someone's got to pay for that.
Yep. It's only fair that Fitchner should have to.
Yeah, he did the trauma, so
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
When they do the
You do the damage, you pay the reparations.
Pay
you
the
can
long
afford
distance.
it now as Olympic night.
Exactly.
When they do a live action of the series, they better reference the unicorn porn just
Oh my
so I can see
God.
what they try and pull off.
Yeah. I also, this is a whole different tangent, but if people, like people in the den, know my history of wanting information about the carvers and animals and cryptids.
Mm-hmm.
So the unicorn porn, like we're believing that there are real life unicorns, right? Providing said porn. This isn't like AI or like, right? Like there got to be real unicorns.
I mean, they can make whatever they want. So, I
Yeah.
guess it's possible, but
We can't get into
either
much
that
at
or,
this
you
point
know,
of
it's
what
just
they've
like-
made, but we know that the lion just kicks. Well, the lion wouldn't be carved; it would just be domesticated. But
Just a lion.
yeah, I'm trying to think of if we've seen anything at this point. The giant bear, but we haven't seen.
The bloodback.
Mhm. But yeah,
No,
we
well,
know
that's it.
the oracle. Yeah, so coming up,
Well,
we'll
they
have more.
they talk about a whole bunch of carved creatures under the ice at the gala.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Each table gets their own. But
Well, each table has their own like their crest on the table, but swimming under the ice of like the floor, I assume what's the floor of the gala is a bunch of just like random carved monstrosities.
right. Yeah. So yeah, I'm just picturing the unicorn porn to be real life unicorns. I'm just saying. Which doesn't it just make it horse porn in the current day and
That was
life?
my thought. And then
Who's
what scares me
watching
even more-
horses get off?
I mean, in this world, they have all sorts of.
There's somebody.
Yeah.
Hacked it.
And then, I mean, you don't learn about this till further down, but not spoiler, but we learn about the, I'm going to forget their names, the giant horses in Dark Age, like how massive they are. And I just imagine the size of that as a unicorn. Sounds super scary.
Sunbloods.
Thank you, Sunblood. I had the blood, I couldn't remember the rest of it.
Yeah. Just so everyone knows, this is going to be a theme that keeps coming up, not necessarily the porn portion of it, but every time we get introduced to a new one, I will focus on it because this is what I like in real life, is like the Loch Ness Monster, and I won't get into more in case it's spoilers. But yeah. Moving on from unicorn porn. I don't know what transition I can make right now. I just...
Stop talking about it.
Normally I have a smooth transition. I've got nothing after this.
Smooth as gravel, dipshit. To quote Severo.
You're not quoting Severo. You just always wanted to yell that at me. It's fine.
¿Por qué no lo estás?
Yeah. So we've got this saving of everybody.
The rescue of the Augustans.
Yeah.
We before we go, we also learned that they stole. Did they mention who they stole right away?
No.
All they say is that
They just say it's. Yeah.
But we don't know.
And Darrow unzips the bag and turns and looks at Severo and goes, "Are you mad?" And Severo
Yes!
just looks at him and howls.
Yes!
You fucking maniac.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we've got the bag. We've got to go rescue everybody else, in which everybody's coming to attack them. And to not get into too much detail on how that all goes down, because we don't necessarily have time to go line by line, even though we want
Oh my
to.
god, yeah, no.
We all somehow end up back on a ship, let's say, with
Okay.
Mustang.
That. Oh, we gotta.
Oh
Oh,
no,
you're
you're
talking the
right. You're
sport.
right. You're right. You're right. No. I'm talking the getaway. But yeah, first we've got them
Yeah.
when they're trying to, and Aja shows up.
Yes.
This is
And then she
also where
go.
we learn how little they care about colors other than gold. Because Aja mentions, well, first Zero says, "Don't weep over grays," um, and then Aja mentions, "You've only killed grays." We can just assume that this is
Yeah,
just
can be
a,
forgiven.
yeah, like just like that. No, you killed people. It is what it is, but it's not gold blood, so we can
Yeah.
forgive it.
Which is an interesting, because with the hierarchy, if they had been coppers or silvers, I wonder if there would be a difference of like, hey, right? Like obviously golds are golds, but I wonder if there is a point of like, listen, grays mean nothing, but then you get
Mm-hmm.
to a point of like, two coppers is probably a problem. What, or like 10 silvers is probably a problem because they've got to have some kind of hierarchy in what they care about. In my assumption.
You would think so, but there may just be a hard line below
Yeah, but
gold, and
like
it's just
gold
like,
and
yeah,
nobody.
who gives a fuck.
Yeah, I always just pictured those top three kind of because the coppers and the silvers work so
They do call them
closely
the
and
high colors.
yes, and have, well, we don't yet see the one silver that holds all the power,
Mm-hmm.
but
We do know his name though.
we do know
Um,
Quicksilver's name.
Roke talks about going to a keynote speech about Regulus Agson,
Yeah,
or by Regulus Agson.
yeah, but
And golds don't even care about golds. We talk about all the time if
no,
you're bronzy, they don't
Yeah, true.
do nothing. They call
yeah,
half
it's
their
like pure,
population for the institute.
yeah, peerless scarred or nothing.
Which, speaking of Fearless Guard, we do learn a little bit of detail on that. It's, where is it? There's 132,689 Peerless Guard to every to 4 million
Oh,
gold.
that's right, because he directly asks.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which I should have done the math, but that's less than a percent.
Mm.
Yeah, that's a
And
quarter of a percent. That's really small.
yeah,
Yeah, this is. I believe the society is about 15 billion people
Mm-hmm.
across all worlds.
Which is
So
insane.
that's like fractions of a percent.
so yeah, so Aja shows up. We learn who's in the bag. It's
Mhm.
Lysander. Which I just love that he kind of like pops out and is like, hey, like, how's it going? Because he just has this like,
Yeah, just chill.
well, we know that Darrow is like his biggest childhood hero. And so I'm sure in his mind, like, the Howlers have me. Like, there's nothing that can go wrong. Like, it's fine. And has probably lived in this very delusional life that he will always be protected, and even his heroes are not actually going to kill him or kidnap or do whatever. So it's just, I just love this, like, how's it going? I'm here.
It
Yep,
is
it's fine.
it is a weird dynamic because they mentioned he's 8 years old. But he kind of,
Hmm.
you're right, he has this really naivety about the danger he's actually in, but he's also smart enough to realize, like, I'm a piece on the board, Aja. It's part of the game. You play this game as well.
Yeah.
Like, it is what it
Yeah,
is.
Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
that's the quote I was going for.
but
Yeah,
he also has no fear with Nero. When Nero's talking about, like, I hope you'll tell your grandmother that you were treated well, if I'm well treated.
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like he as you say, he knows how to play the game. He knows that it is like, a giant game of chess, but and then in that moment is when we lose Quinn.
Hmm. That's kind of when Daryl realizes, like, shit, this is what she meant by, you know, you only have one chip, spend it wisely. And he even thinks, like, what would I have done if she had have killed Severo or Mustang? Like,
Yeah.
it was, he got lucky that it was only one.
Yeah.
And he mentioned that that like if they called his bluff that he wouldn't kill Lysander, that he couldn't. I
Yeah,
imagine he would. Like either way, if they kill him, you still have to fight, and so do all your
Yeah.
friends. I think if they called his bluff, despite what he says, I think he would have eventually talked himself into having to do it. I know it's not a very protagonist way of thinking, but
yeah, yeah. I think it's just interesting the way he says it. It's like, if they knew my heart. Oh yes, there we go. So this is exactly why I build my reputation as a killer, to leverage in situations like these. If they knew my heart, they'd kill my friends one by one. This is a gamble.
Mm-hmm.
so he knows that they would kill him and his friends. So I mean, if they called it, he would have to do it. I don't know, but I think this is also the point where you realize the Howlers are ill prepared. Like it's all been a game. They're joking throughout this entire thing, and then the moment Quinn dies, they're up in the ship. Nobody's talking. Nobody's moving.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, despite your leaders like your Severo and Darrow, and then even Roke, but he has more experience. I think this is their first real glimpse that war sucks, and your friends are going to die.
Yeah. Well, and we see that the
Yeah.
person who has to take kind of control, not control, but take control of the situation is the jackal is the one who steps up
Mm-hmm.
and is like, guys, like, here is basic first aid. Get me a yellow. And they're like just kind of sitting there totally like miffed of like, what are we supposed to do? And it's the jackal who has to be like,
Well, yeah, it's
okay,
because the jackal doesn't have to deal with emotions. He can just
this is
get to
true.
it.
Yes,
But
but there
as
is at some
Like a
point where you
creepy little
gotta.
robot.
Yeah, but there's some point where you just do like, you gotta have the basics, guys. Like, yeah, yeah,
it
we're
does give you mixed feelings though, because this whole time the Jackal's been this evil person. But these last couple
Hmm.
chapters, he's a completely different person. He's
oh
trying to
yeah,
help out. He's showing compassion.
yeah. He's
Uh,
telling Roke of like, just talk to her, just tell her a story, like, just
the pigeon story.
Yep.
I love that part of the book.
yes, yeah,
We also learn a little bit more about the tools that they have. They have the ionizer that he uses to sanitize himself. The data pad that they can just scan over the brain and it gives a live image of it. So
yeah,
you get a little
Yep.
bit of the technology that's available to them all.
yeah,
Um, we mentioned foreshadowing, and there's actually a lot that happens, but Gwen's death is somewhat foreshadowed because she offers to give Darrow
Hmm.
her helmet, and he says, or Sever tells her to keep it because if she gets one bump on her head, then Roke's going to write 1,000 gory poems. And
yeah,
how does she die? Getting smashed in the head. Even with the helmet on, it didn't even make a difference. But
yeah,
it's a little foreshadowing. Um, and then we
I
learn,
don't. I don't think she had the helmet on, but still,
yeah, your skull's completely caved in.
yeah, yeah, because it says armored fist on skull when Aja
Oh,
hits
yeah.
her.
yeah, yeah. So then, as I pour myself another drink, uh, this leads
A little bit of
to.
potion making for Hydro.
It could change color if I tried hard enough. If I drank tonic. She loves potions that change color. But this leads to kind of our first real ship of this episode, relationship ship, and spaceship directly after, but relationship of the Roke and Quinn. And also we see the Savro and Quinn and Savro's response to this. Personally, I'm going to get into the Roke and Quinn first. Also, nobody judge me that I refuse to buy real lemons, and I'm just...
It tastes the same. In
Even though she left the house to get the bubbly.
And even bought the bubbly at a grocery store and picked up tea at the same time. No, we're using the bottled stuff. This is the part we cut for Fabled Spirits. They're not going to want to see that part. It also did not come out the nice color it came out earlier. But anyway, we see the relationship of Roke and Quinn and that kind of love that we saw, because at the end of Red Rising, we see that it's at least spoken about, that she's no longer with Cassius, she's with Roke. And then through all of this, where he's the one who tells the pigeon story and is the one very much at her side through all of this, and trying to support her through whatever that sadly looks like.
And we see Sever really have emotion for the first time. You see how much he feels. And that's actually something I wrote in the survey, was I wish that they would have gotten together at least a little bit, because Sever deserves some happiness. Besides being crapped on all the time. But you really see how hard he takes it. And even more so when Tactus starts making his little jokes. And it doesn't end well for him.
No. Well, and
I wonder if there's some ruptures there.
It's gotta be. But then he still laughs it off and says, "My brother's always told me to keep my eye on the ball." I'm like, you literally just got kicked in the ball.
which is a fucking mint line.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Tactus has no tact.
Absolutely
Tactless.
Tactless.
Hey, you caught this one.
I caught that one. I don't normally catch them all, but I caught that one. Yeah. Yeah, because they're now back on the spaceship, which I am all here for the spaceships.
They're on the Stork.
Yeah.
The troop transport.
Which
I think slow pig of a ship.
Which I think
designed to birth soldiers out of its guts.
Which I think a Blue is driving, but we pretty much see that Mustang is controlling the majority of it. Like, she's sitting in the helm, playing skipper, if you will, controlling the whole thing. And she doesn't necessarily know what's happening in the back. And then, of course, we've got... So the people rescued, we've got all of the Augustus, and we've got Victra, who this is her first interaction with the Howlers. Which she, is a sad interaction that she has to kind of be like, what the hell? And why is the short one yelling at me? Like, she doesn't
call her a cow? Something like that.
Yeah, Severo goes after her. After her.
Is this the warm milk and cookies?
No, that's not until...
No, that's Morningstar, isn't it?
No. It's in Golden Sun.
Oh, yes.
It's just later in this, yeah.
I think it's in the next set of chapters, if I remember right, that we have to read.
Yeah, it is.
Which is a classic line as well.
Yeah.
These are actually also the chapters where we get two really commonly used quotes for Aspera ad Astra and Omnis Vira Lupus.
That's right. They're going back and forth in Latin in this part.
Yeah.
And then jumping ahead, fortune favors the bold, which made me laugh personally because my wife actually has that tattooed on her foot, and Darrow makes fun of Severo for saying it.
hmm And then Cacatni Ursus in Silvis.
There's a bear shit in the woods.
Right.
Oh, so good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you see Tactus's betrayal coming when he
No.
volunteered? Okay,
No.
No, because I mean, genuinely, this is the thing: is that scene how Pierce has it written, especially for a woman, where it's Nero asks Victra, "Go take care of the child," and so
Mhm.
and he's written it of like other than Mustang, who's pretty much running the ship at the time. He asks the only woman, which is interesting to
Mhm.
me that we're supposed to be this far in the future and Nero still has these gender roles laid out that it's going to be the woman. So when Tactus took him, me personally, I'm like, good on you, Tactus. Yeah.
Mhm.
Don't make Victra do the work of the like mother or whatever. Like, good on you. And so I was completely blindsided because I took it in the same way Victor does, where Victor kind of just sends him like an almost like a thank you that I don't have to deal with the child. So I
Mhm.
was completely blindsided. Even on this
Immediate
reread.
regret.
Like, even on this reread, I knew it was coming, but I still was like, good on you, Tactus. Good on you. Yeah. Crescent, you
We
didn't
get
see
some.
it coming?
No. Nope. I was like, oh, great. I guess Lysander's going to the back of the ship.
Yeah.
And then it says something about the light on the panel goes on, and I'm like,
Fuck. Yeah.
well, shit.
It also gives you an idea, although I'm sure it caught him by surprise. But I mean, we get a little bit of hints on how good Tactus is as a fighter. But he takes down a Howler and oh goodness, one of the not Blade Master. I can't think of the word. Another one of
Mm.
Nero's higher ups.
Lancers.
Lancer. Thank you. Gosh. Um, I'm sure there was a little bit of surprise involved with it, but still, taking on 2 golds by yourself to try and escape, still pretty impressive.
Yeah. Yep.
We get the fun banter between Severo and Kavix as well, where
I forgot that Cavix is in all of this. Again, where's
mhm.
Sophocles? Where's Sophocles just hanging out?
Yeah, he was.
He just chills. He just through all of this, Sophocles is like, I've done this before. I don't. Sure. Just throw me wherever. But yeah.
Because if I
But,
remember,
and
the Telemanises were not in the lagoon; they were in the estate. I think they were
mm,
part of the decor.
yeah. Which we do then with the Telemanoses as well see the daughter-father relationship of how
Mm-hmm.
Cavex reacts to Mustang and kind of being more that proud father and like tapping her on the
Mm-hmm.
shoulder and kind of doing the like you've done the right thing rather than Nero is the cold like you will never get my approval kind of the person. And so that juxtaposition that we see between the two of them is also one of my favorite things. If you just see what that is it the stepdad that stepped up versus the
Yeah,
biological father who couldn't give a shit that his daughter's amazing at all of this. Yeah.
which is weird because
Yeah,
we
so
get hints that he is an attentive father. Like he taught her how to ride horses. He
Mm-hmm.
helped her when.
yeah, he was an attentive father
Mhm.
Yeah.
briefly.
But yeah, and we just get
And then
Cavex.
I think the line that kind of sends it home for me of the difference between Cavix and Nero is just the love on the man's face makes Augustus's own disinterest monstrous.
Mhm.
It's like, yep,
Yep.
yeah, this is a real father figure.
Yep. Yep.
Oh. Then Severo mentioning that Pax was a man he would die for, and he can tell he got his looks from his mother. And Kavix doesn't realize that he's been insulted.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the Telemanoses. Like even this early in, you just see they're as well bonded as the Bologna are, to compare to another family, which is probably why we see Mustang being a little bit more well adjusted than the Jackal, is that she was given love. Again, we've had this discussion of nature versus nurture, and I don't think anything would change the Jackal. He is a case of probably nature versus nurture, but at least with her, we can see like that her found family, which is really what it is versus biological family, is important to her because of who raised her, is a found family.
Yeah, I think you're right because I mean, despite what they say, and I know this is later in the books, but Mustang is attentive to Adrius. Like, they're twins. She is always doing the things that he asked her to do. So it's not like he didn't have anybody there to love, but
No.
not the one that he wanted.
Yeah. Yeah.
We get a cool Star Wars reference in the next chapter when Darrow says, "Don't tell me the odds."
Yes! There is so many references that through all of this. Did I mention this earlier? We were talking about read through. I don't even remember what's happened today. That I once did a read through of the first 3 books, because this was pre Iron Gold, of all of the pop culture references. It's on Reddit. I can attach it if people want. And
oh yes,
yeah, so Pierce.
Yeah, we'll drop it in the.
We'll drop it in the link. It's a pre Iron Gold, so whatever year that is, 2017.
2016, 17.
Yeah. 2016 Morning Star came out. 2018 Iron Gold. I don't know exactly when I did this read through, but I read through them with the sole purpose of finding every pop culture reference. And this is because when I saw Pierce in Toronto for Morningstar, I asked the question, hey, you include... Oh, I can't even make the... We will later revisit this for Morningstar. He yelled at me something, and if you've read Morningstar, you can probably guess what pop culture reference he yelled at me. But my question was, why do you include all these pop culture references? And his thing was like, he's such a big nerd, and he figures the people reading the book have read or, indulged in the media that he has indulged in. So he wants to put in those little pockets of fun. So there's a lot of Star Wars. There's a lot of Lord of the Rings that we've already seen. There's so much. Like, I'll drop the link in the show notes or the comments, whatever, however you're taking in this media. And there's so much that people still pick up on that, like, it's great. Read through the comments on the Reddit post I did, because so many people being like, actually, you missed all of this, because all I did was either I understood the reference or I went, that's a weird thing to say. Let me Google if it's a thing. And people and there was stuff that I was like, I don't even understand that reference. But Pierce is so great about, Morningstar especially. So you get the Star Wars reference in this one. And I just love him for that, of, give us the fun Easter eggs. Give them to us.
He has one earlier in this book. The Lost Weed Inn is supposed to be...
The Lost Weed Inn is there. Yep.
Although he says he regrets that now, considering everything that came out about him, but...
Yeah.
It's too late now.
Too late now, but there's a whole bunch. There's so much. Yeah, I'll drop in my Reddit post. And then when you get Morningstar is just filled
with it. Yep.
Filled, that he just didn't hold back when we get to Morningstar. But yeah, never tell me the odds. Moving on from that.
This is where we get a little hint of a little bit more detail on Blues. How calm this Blue is. Like, they're basically facing imminent death, and she's just like, tell me what to do and we'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have to imagine that part of that, like, obviously they're just totally just leveled, especially while they're in the sink. But part of that is like, my odds only get better from here. Like,
Yeah.
it's game over. And so anything Darrow can pull out of his ass,
Yeah.
you know, it's only gonna help. Like it can't really get worse. So
Yeah.
We get a
there's
Victor
probably that
kissing.
aspect to the calm.
Yeah, I think you also have a mindset being raised up on these ships that you're likely going to die on a ship, so they just accept it from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Which is, I'm sure a lot of these different colors have that, depending on, like, even the reds. Like, they probably expect to die if you're going to be an hell diver. You're going to die doing
Hmm.
the job. The blues
Yeah.
just are raised in that mentality. Yeah.
Is this the first time we see star shells as well?
No. So the first time is like right at the beginning of the book in the academy. He
And he's
tries to
gonna
launch
go in it.
himself at Karnas's ship in a star shell.
This is where we learn more
It's a lot
detail
more.
about
This
it,
is a
right?
lot more detail with the star shells. Um, yeah, it's basically just a big old suit of metal that they turn into a rail slug,
Mm-hmm.
um, which is just wild to me. I mean,
Yeah.
somewhat unsurprising, but that's kind of sci-fi as a whole. But
Yeah.
like being shot from 0 to like 2 kilometers a second, like
I
right
think
now.
he says 10 times the speed of sound, which I think you're spot on almost with 2 kilometers a
Yeah,
second.
so that's like 350 miles or like 3,500 miles an hour, which is that would be like 5,500 ish kilometers an hour. So
Sure.
basic like a kilometer a second ish. Napkin math.
Sure. It's fast.
Yeah. And the
Yeah,
fact
it's
that he can
very
still
fast.
It's very
he's still able to
fast.
get his arm up in order to shoot at the ship as he's going as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I mean, once he leaves the ship, he stops accelerating, which is the only thing that's kind of
that's
keeping
right.
him from
Hmm.
that. So, uh, but yeah, like he's like, I can't look up or it'll break my neck. It's like you're inside of a metal suit. Like the forces
You
that are
gotta,
involved are
yeah.
insane.
Which I will throw out here while we're about to attack the ship. This is where I wore this t-shirt today, which is not actually, it is lit escalates, but it is not Pierce. It is V.E. Schwab, and it is stop fucking with the ship. And I won't, it's a spoiler on what part of V.E. Schwab that's in, but go read Darker Shade of Magic. But that's what I feel like right now, is they are about to fuck with the ship.
I don't.
Yeah.
I
So
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I was gonna say I don't want to. I know we're jumping ahead. I just want to
Yeah,
mention
yeah.
because we skipped over. Victor kisses Darrow for the first time before he gets into the
Yes,
star
that's
shell,
Yep.
right.
which I'm not a fan of. But
No,
well,
I yeah, I am a big Victra fan. I'm not a big
mhm.
Victra and Darrow fan. I feel like she can do better and he can do better. They just don't work well together.
Right. Your
Hmm.
partner is typically called your better half because
Mm,
they have the traits that you don't have. Victor and Darrow are the same person. That's
they are,
fire on
yeah.
Yeah.
fire.
Yeah.
If
Exactly.
he goes with her, he is not the level-headed person that uh, we see. That's why Mustang
Oh,
is
for
such a deep
sure.
cut.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we had the discussion last of like they would burn hot, but they would
Mm-hmm.
burn fast. And it's not gonna work out. I still a little bit was rooting for her. Just a little,
Mm-hmm.
because she's such a badass. But yeah.
Um, I think uh, even when she puts him in the star shell and she kisses him, he mentions like, I wish it was Mustang.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Which is a
can't help but wish it was
huge
Mustang who sealed me in this tin can and kissed me goodbye.
which I will say is a huge reflection back to Red Rising, where we see him in the cave with Mustang, and all keeps going on about is, "I wish it was EO. I wish it was EO." And now we have him saying, "I wish it was Mustang." That we've seen that growth. That he's finally able in this book to fully commit himself to not EO, to move on.
Yeah.
All right, should we jump to our probably the best chapter in the book when he gets into the ship?
Yes.
Yes.
Freaking love this.
Oh my god. This
They
is
fuck with the
god, it's
ship.
so good.
And the description he uses in this chapter, like when they're killing the people, it's like it's steel hitting a watermelon. Like that's such a
Yeah,
visual.
punching the inside of a watermelon.
They punch an obsidian in the face and instantly kill it.
Gallagher.
Yes, exactly. We see how the ships react to infiltration, like they auto shut themselves off,
Yeah.
or seal themselves up.
Yeah,
Yep.
the bulkheads come down over all the viewports.
Mm-hmm.
It's I think the beginning of it is so interesting, where it's the bridge is close. I spare a look up, see golds inside roaring at one another, rushing to their evac suits. Like they see him coming, and there's nothing they can do. And the golds get their breath masks on. The obsidians pull their weapons out, and then it's game over. And I crash through, like he crashes through the viewport. It's like, could you imagine? Could you imagine just seeing, like, you got a pretty good idea who this might be.
Mm-hmm.
And they're coming through the window in space.
Yep.
You don't expect it. Obviously, nobody's ever done it before.
Well, and this is the part that when we get the description even of like, so a bunch of them, because how space works, it's a vacuum. It's going to pull out a bunch, and then you get them like which ones of them are dying and holding their breath and all of that piece.
Mm-hmm.
Like it is a very traumatic, like
I really like how Pierce puts in these little, like, really factual details. Like in Red Rising, where he talks about, it's not the accumulation of lactic acid that's causing pain in your muscles, it's micro tears in the muscle. Well, in this chapter, he talks about it doesn't really suck them out through the shattered windows so much as the internal pressure of the ship pushes them out. Like, yes, give me the nitty gritty. Like, this is what's actually happening.
His research.
Break the trope.
And then he mentions the, I think it was the one blue held their breath and their lungs exploded.
Yes.
Bleeding. I have to assume that's exactly what happens.
Oh, so, he's done his research on this one. Yeah. Yeah.
And this is where we meet Orion for the first
Yay!
time. And she really sets herself apart from every other blue on that ship.
Yeah! Through sarcasm, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think the neat part is Orion is mentioned and then dropped.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get Ragnar.
Yes.
And then we come back and we're like, oh, that was Orion in the last chapter.
But you know who it is because of how she speaks in that first little bit. And then when she comes back, it's like no other blue's going to speak in this manner.
Yeah. Should I call you Lord Boy?
Yeah.
Yeah, a long-faced, proud-shouldered woman with deep olive skin snorts at the demotion. Her gaze is particularly shrewd for a blue, bald like the rest, with digital azure tattoos swirling not only along crown and temples, but over hands and neck. And it's like, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then you understand, like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I always liked that.
Do we want to? I know we've been going in
and
order, but we'll talk Orion and then we can talk Ragnar.
Sounds
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, because I feel like they're the two big introductions of this one. Yeah, Orion is always
one slightly bigger than the other, but
slightly bigger. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. So this reader out, like the read through this time, which you guys have both done primarily audiobook. This is the first time I'm audiobooking it. So especially talking Orion and then Ragnar, they are the two probably most different, the blues in general. You get that like, well, the blues, it's
This-
like no, like it's just robot.
staccato, monotone.
Monotone. Just this is what it is. But Orion manages to get sarcasm across, which everybody who's ever been online, which is now everybody, knows how hard it is to get sarcasm across when you're typing. Never mind that, like, when you're speaking in that monotone voice, and how do you get sarcasm across? Like, she manages to do it, which I greatly love her for.
That's when we learn her name.
I really like the fact that Pierce can convey that. It's like this person speaking in monotone with no inflection being described over like by text, and you get it.
You
It's
get
like,
it. You understand her.
That's just that's such good writing.
Yep. Yeah. I love her. I love her is all I'm going to say. I do have, this is merch that I just literally got. This is my newest pin, which I don't know what I do with any of my pins, because unlike most of the den, I do not have a Howler's jacket, but it's the give me the badge and I'll carve you a path to Mars boy from Creatively, and I absolutely love that line.
Yeah, I have that same pin, and I think it works better the way she has it on the badge. But the quote is, "I'll carve you a hole back to Mars."
Yeah. I don't know if, well, it doesn't matter if you guys see it. I just need my camera.
Give me the badge and I'll carve you a path to Mars, boy.
Yeah.
And that's not until chapter 22.
Yeah. But either way, like, we just see her from the beginning stand out against the blues. And we see the back and forth of, we get so much blue lore so quickly because of the one blue being like, don't trust her. She's a docker. She's all of this. Like, what is this?
She's a daughterhead in astrophysics.
Yeah.
She has no sect. We learn that there's two schools, the observatory and the midnight school.
Oh, sorry. Arnis is the daughterhead at astrophysics. And his assumptions in theoretical calculus are imprudent at best.
It's me.
What I'm
it's me.
Curious about is she says that I was intended to be a man.
Yes.
So is it a trans thing, or do they just have control over what sex they are? Like, can that be changed?
No, so she is the first canon that is transgender.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, we learn so much about how their whole world kind of works. And just that weird back and forth with the other blue being like, why are you listening to her? And her being like, why not? Like...
Yeah, she literally doesn't defend herself. She just, like, she says her shit and then shuts up. And all of them are just, nattering at one another, and he just stands there, and Darrow's like, I like you.
I like you. But I feel like Darrow at this point
picked
knows...
this one.
Yeah, I feel like Darrow at this point knows that the outcasts, based on the Howlers, the outcasts are the ones who are most likely to follow him. They're the most likely to, believe in his mission, and that's the person who it is. It's like, you're willing to step out of your comfort zone, or your color's comfort zone probably is more what it's like, So you're the one who later on I'm going to need, because you're not just following me because I'm gold. You're following me because of your own morals and ethics.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the outcasts that are shunned by their color are way more likely to buck the trends of the society.
Yep. Yep.
I think this is definitely a question to put into the Reaper's room, because we never find out how she ends up on that ship, considering she has
Yeah.
no
Oh
sex,
yeah.
she's a docker, she has no schooling. So how is she on one of the most important ships in the society?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
because that's it. So we're on the Vanguard. We didn't mention here, but I'm assuming everybody who's watching this has read it. Um, other than shout out maybe to Crescent's parents. Uh, but yeah, so the Vanguard is the Ash Lord's flagship, essentially. So yeah,
Mhm.
it is one of the most powerful ships in the entire solar system. And she finds
Mhm.
herself on it. So that's a fabulous question of
Yeah.
like, you don't have the credentials.
And it's supposed to go to the Julii
Um,
because she betrayed Nero, we find out.
Yes. Yep.
Oh, this was the other thing that I thought was interesting is these are the first sigils that I've come across that actually match in book and
Because
in
it
real
says the
life.
trident. Yep.
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 All right, should we go to the guy that we all have been wanting to go
Yes,
to?
I feel like we need to skip back and talk about Darrow's call to arms. Literal call to arms.
Mm-hmm.
Of if you can get a weapon, grab one and fight for me. And who we get in response. Crescent, I'll let you take this one away because it's your favorite character of the episode.
yeah, so we get our first bold text, or our first bold speech. Can you hear me? And it's and Darrow immediately thinks voice amplifier.
Mm.
And then when he realizes, he's like, "Oh, he's not using a voice amplifier. I should have known by the sluggish speech, um, and the accent." He's like, "This is an obsidian, and I will come to meet you and your companion, Godchild." And
Godchild.
he's like, "What is coming?" And then we get just the most brutal scene, but we don't actually get to have it described, and it has to be horrifying because it makes Darrow turn away. He can't watch what Ragnar does to these, you know, dozen grays and 4 golds or whatever it is,
It's 4 gold,
in the
6
hall.
obsidian, and 10 grays. He takes on
Okay,
20
yes.
people by himself,
Yeah.
like, and ends up
And well,
fine at the end of it.
yeah, he's got injuries, but like he just doesn't care. Like these are like 2% of my body.
Yeah.
I don't think you can
And
have
then
a
and
more
then we
badass entry than you killing
No.
4
oh
gold,
god.
6
Yeah,
obsidian,
No.
and 10 grays.
and he doesn't actively kill the grays. He just runs down the hall and smears them into the wall with his body. It's like, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm. And even the gold that is described as being killed, we know the bone density of gold is really strong, and he just crushes her with with his hands,
Yeah.
while he's
Yeah,
got a razor through his chest.
yeah. And he's got 3 foot swords coming out the end of both of his arms.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what
Yeah.
an unbelievable, just basically the whole chapter, but this section in particular, it's just so visceral.
Yeah.
And then when when Ragnar talks about all of his titles. It feels very much
Yes.
like a Daenerys Targaryen. But yeah, Godchild Andromedas, I am Ragnar Valaris, the stained firstborn of my mother, alias No Sparrow, of the Valkyrie Spires, north of the Dragon's Spine, south of the Fallen City, where the winged horror flies, brother of Sephi the Quiet, breaker of Tanos, which once stood by the water, and I make you an offering of stains. Which, I guess, now that I actually read it out loud, most of that is not a title.
No, it's
Yeah.
just who your family
It's
is. It's
it's
just
well,
like,
and
And
let
where
me
you're
talk
it's
about
from.
my sister
so
over here.
it's I am Ragnar Valaris, the stained firstborn, and then my mother and the Valkyrie Spires, which are here, and he basically triangulates the location of them. Well, less cool, but it still feels very
It's,
similar.
yes. Yes.
But you also
Um,
got to think there's a reason he's
And then,
naming these two people.
oh, yeah. Like,
yep,
he
Like they
knows his
obviously have
position.
they have some significance, at least in his world. We don't know any of
yeah,
that yet, but
Yeah.
I
So for me, I'm just going to go back a bit as a physical reader versus an audiobook reader, that the bolding, it is so rare. And I would say any, like, we go back to how Pierce has managed to get sarcasm across on the page. And now we get this bold, which is so rare. It is an inside joke between him and his editor, Mike Raff. If you have seen Mike Raff, he is probably a real life Obsidian. But Pierce wrote it figuring it would be taken out. And I absolutely love that it stuck because it just has so much of emotion where you're like, oh, this is like this deep core voice. Like, I I love how it's written, that we just know when Ragnar is talking because it comes across bold.
does that continue beyond this chapter? Like every
Yes,
time
no,
Ragnar
every
yes,
time Ragnar talks it
every
is
line
bold.
of yeah.
that is
And it
good.
is an inside joke between him and his editor, and he figured his editor was going to take it out, and his editor went, "No, that's great. We're leaving that in." And so that's why we get Ragnar being that bold voice. But again, this is the first time I'm listening to it, and so I didn't know what to expect. And the narrator does such a great
Yeah, Tim
job
Gerard
of,
Reynolds
oh, he is,
absolutely crushes that delivery.
yes, that you're like, yep, this is what it was in my head when I read it. Yeah, absolutely fantastic.
Um, the other the other piece of imagery that I really like from this chapter is after Ragnar has killed all of the people in the hallway and he's offering Darrow stains, and then there's this superheated metal hole in the door, and then they clasp arms in in the superheated metal. Like,
Yeah, it's
perfect.
so good.
Before it changes its mind.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I also think it's worth mentioning at this point the call to arms of other colors that
Hmm.
Darrow, you know, the reds and the browns that are not normally,
And
they're not
oranges.
Yeah,
normally
that
fighting
yeah, red,
colors, but they
reds,
are
browns,
laborious.
oranges.
Yeah, but they're
Uh,
laborious colors.
yeah, yeah,
But you don't,
they're the tough colors.
Yeah.
yeah, it's all the ones that do physical
Yeah.
things. Like you don't hear anything from the yellows, the greens, any of the coppers or whites. Like I'm sure they're on the ship, and I think it even
Oh, wait.
mentions that later on that all the colors are on the ship. But those are
Mm-hmm.
the only ones that decide to do anything.
Well,
Hmm.
I mean, from a standpoint, like they're the only ones who would know almost how. So you assume at this point the Reds, especially, being the lowest of the low, but they're the manual labor. They at least could at least hold, like, okay, I've never actually shot a gun, but from what I hear, it has kickback. So a pink is not going to be able to handle the kickback if in the future we have kickback on guns.
Though
I don't know how this is
in
working, but
yeah, no, in canon, the future weapons that they use mostly don't,
no, but to like have the
because
physical
they talk
strength
about it being
probably to hold
horribly
it.
inaccurate, like the
Yeah. But to hold the physical strength to do what they did. But also to another point of it's probably the first time anyone's ever asked colors to take on golds and not just golds and obsidian to take on golds. Like we know the obsidian are
and
and the
grays.
grays are built for it, but nobody's ever asked a red to arm themselves because
Yeah,
what then stops them from
there's
rebelling? Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there's a reason that obsidians and grays are called war colors, and it's actually that word comes up for the first time in this chapter. And it's like these are the only ones that are going to do anything, and I kill them because they're war colors. And if I don't kill them, they're going to kill me. But yeah,
Yeah.
like the reds and the browns and the oranges, they're just like the rough ones, right? Like, they're not afraid to get hurt or get dirty. They're like, all right,
yeah,
these guys are assholes. Yeah, I've dreamt of this day for my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
I think you even mentioned that this is the first spark of revolution
Yep.
was on this chapter.
yeah,
I mean, you've been pushed down your whole life,
Yeah,
and that opportunity is given. You're gonna take it.
Yeah, it's
oh
a
yeah,
heavy silence as the first sparks of revolution are struck.
yeah.
Oh, and then it's even in this set of chapters. I don't think autocratic democracy counts. Several wrinkles his nose. You did threaten to vent them into space. Threaten? I thought I implied it rather smoothly. Smooth as gravel, dipshit.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after Ragnar fully devotes himself to the godchild, we get everyone else gets to join on the ship. And that's when we really get kind of the touching moments between, well, especially let's leave with Severo and Darrow. Like,
Yes. So Severo knows.
Severo
Eventually.
knows.
Darrow has to go out on a limb, otherwise Severo is gonna leave.
Yeah.
It's such a good
And he
back and forth,
does.
too.
Oh my god. It's so I'm gonna say it every time, but it's so well written.
Mm-hmm.
Like I once heard somebody say that Pierce writes like an angry poet. And yeah,
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I'll take it.
That's yeah. That's never been disproven in my eyes. Um
Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely love this scene of first off we get Severo in all of his vulnerability where he finally gets a kind of a chance to mourn Quinn, but he doesn't still want to. He shows of like the golds don't show emotion. Like he shows that, but also at the same time, we're seeing that Darrow says that the golds don't care about nudity, but Severo's got himself wrapped up in two towels. And
yeah.
and we're seeing so much of that as well as, him feeling through so many emotions pushes away the Quinn thing to then bring out to Darrow of like just say it, like just trust me with your one secret. Who sent me? Who sent me?
Yeah. And Darrow even is like, he's not bluffing. Like, I can
No.
tell he's like, he'll leave.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's the one who Severo's the one who's like, I know you're always armed. Put on the jammer
Yep.
Yeah.
because he's
You're
fully
always
aware.
thorough.
Yeah.
And he even admits, I'm not naive enough to think, unlike the Sovereign, that people can't listen in.
Yeah.
Yep.
But this is also where we learn that Dancer is not dead. He is alive.
Yes!
Yes.
Yes! Which I love.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the
Fuck you,
first
Harmony.
character to come back from the dead. Just tick that one off.
The only character.
The only character to come back from the dead. Only character.
I mean, we talk about the writing, but you can feel the relief that Darrow has that somebody knows. Like, the emotion that he
Yes.
lets out through those lines, that you are my friend, and he's weeping, and even puts Severo on the back foot.
Well, I think he says, like, someone knows. Like, that's all he wants is, like, I need to talk to somebody outside of the Sons of Ares. Like, somebody knows. Like, he's so relieved. I assume Crescent's looking at the exact quote.
Yes.
I was gonna say foreshadowing is
so
hardcore on this part too.
Yeah, so he can't say anymore because I'm hugging him and crying. I sob and hold on to him, shaking, scaring him. He doesn't move except to pat me on the head, which that's just so Severo. It's just he all the weight falls from my shoulders. Someone knows. He knows and he's here. He knows and he came to help me. To help me.
Yeah. Especially that help me
And then
part.
he says, "You are my friend." It's like, yeah.
Yeah. It's Severo. But yeah, that you
Yeah.
help me part is, I think, essential because up to this point, the Sons of Ares just has missions for him. Yeah, they know, but he's not gonna, like, they don't on an emotional part necessarily, including Dancer, necessarily are gonna hold that of like let's go through therapy together. Which I think we had a discussion about how therapy probably does not exist to the Golds because they are on another level and too good for it. And no, everybody needs therapy, but especially Darrow and Severo. Let's talk about it. Like, they especially, the two of them, and probably Mustang of being raised by a father that doesn't care. So you're sent away to a different family.
I would think
They
there's an
all
argument
need
that
therapy.
literally every single
Everyone
person.
needs therapy.
That they
But
call because Darrow and Mustang clearly have PTSD because they mention how they sleep in closets because they can't sleep
yes,
in their big room. They're afraid they're going to be taken from their beds, like they were at the institute.
Yeah. And then it doesn't help that the closets can sleep a family of obsidians.
yeah.
Yep.
Everybody needs therapy, and clearly at this point where, like, I mean, even if you have a gold therapist, I don't think that Darrow would release that information. But either way, clearly of just somebody knows. Like, you gotta talk it out. You gotta talk it out, people. Let's just all talk about our feelings. And this is a moment where we see, you know, him breaking down and talking about his feelings. I love it. I love it. Mwah.
Yep.
Everyone go to therapy. That's my advertisement for therapy here.
Skipper is your mental health advocate.
As always. I have therapy
Very
tomorrow.
important.
I'll talk about this tomorrow.
It is.
It's very Pierce writing though, where he has this super emotional scene, and then he puts in a classic Severo one-liner when Darrow asks if he thinks Mustang would be okay with him being a red, and he's like, "I don't give love advice, shithead." So good.
It is also my advice as well, is anytime someone says something to me, I also said I don't give love advice, shithead.
Yeah,
So I get
that's why Skipper gave Happy National Singles Awareness Day on Valentine's Day.
You're welcome. Yeah. But yeah, I just love this. Love this. You mentioned talking about after this about the Mustang and Darrow sleeping in closets. Because right after this, Do we want to move on to the last chapter, or do we have other things to discuss? The last chapter is a lot.
I was just going to mention before you went there, we get one more like big chunk with Victra.
Yes, that's
like
right.
we get
The
some pretty big,
reintroduction.
The reintroduction of Victra
in
and
the
of Darrow.
worst shutdown I could imagine. Good night, sister. I'm like, oh,
I've been there. I've had the
Oh no.
back to Skipper and Singles Awareness Day. I have had the I love you like a sister. So get it. I'm there with you, Victra. But like as readers, we all saw it coming. It's unfortunate to Victra.
Mm-hmm.
but you learn why she is the way that she is. She even mentioned, like, my mother raised me this way to protect myself. That, like, it's all a facade to make sure that she is not vulnerable and doesn't get taken advantage of.
Yeah. Yep.
And we learn
Yeah.
why she likes green.
Yes, she loves
Yep.
the emerald and jade rings.
Yeah, I actually hate the color gold, she says.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely feel with her on all of this. My thing is like, so they've been together a year at the academy.
Mm-hmm.
So it took this long for her to call out, like, you don't actually trust me, basically. You think I'm cold. You think I'm like, it's just interesting to me of like, she is on the bridge with him at the beginning, but they don't actually, like, what happens at the academy that you get put on a bridge that you're not necessarily trusting the person? Or is it just a, like, yeah, you're a
Maybe
friend,
it's
but
just-
you're over there. You're over there.
It could be just that you're gold. Like how many, like, because Victra obviously is an Augustan Lancer too. Like how many Augustan Lancers went to the academy?
Mm-hmm.
And is it just so they were both Augustan Lancers, and so they got put on the same ship, and then because they're golds, they're just together on the bridge?
Yeah.
Or did something happen? Right. Interesting to
Well,
see the beginning of that relationship.
For sure.
We learn a little bit why he doesn't trust her, because he mentions, and obviously it could have just been a lie, but he says it's because you're Antonio's sister. That's the end and be all of it.
Yeah. Which is going to be a lot of fucking trauma. Antonia's a...
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a complex female character in a negative way.
Yeah, but you can never miss syphilis. Because that happened in the last set of chapters, and we never talked about it.
Yep. Yep.
I feel like Pierce has probably used that line in real life.
I hope that he hasn't had to, but could you imagine the destruction in your soul if somebody said that to you?
Yeah, you're not coming back from that at all.
Nope. That's a kill shot.
That is worse than Goodnight Sister in so many levels.
Yes. All right, should we go to bacon and eggs?
Bacon and eggs. Why I'm drinking
Yep.
somewhat of a mimosa.
Mimosas.
Quote
this
unquote.
is where we
mimosas.
learn the true Mustang. This is where we get
Yes.
a lot of character building on who she is.
I love this because it's probably the realest relationship face to face of any two characters we've got thus far. Because everything else is built around you need this, you need that out of me. This is where we see she just literally wants breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, well, first off, the cook is so used to feeding the Ash Lord, he's like high anxiety about this situation in which she's just like, can you just give me this, like, the basics, which then we actually learn that she doesn't actually, it's bacon that she doesn't actually eat, and like it learned to like it because of Darrow. And from there, we get that, yeah, she just wants the basics, and we get this so simple, heart to heart, person to person. This is what I was doing. This is why I'm protecting you. Like, I just absolutely love this scene, which is hilarious because it's, again, been 5 years? No. When did Iron Gold come out? That was my last read of Golden Sun. 5 years.
2018, January
5 years.
2018.
Mm-hmm.
5 years since my last read through. And I forgot this scene existed. Like, I completely blanked it out. And then reading it again, I was like, oh shit, this might be the best scene ever? Possibly ever. That this is, yeah.
It's
But I
certainly
completely
high
blanked
up
it out.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's so much to like about this scene. Like, she basically she's getting him to realize, like, why do you make yourself just a warrior? And he's kind of like, oh, but then I can't not, right? Like, he's very much kind of trying to avoid that line of thought
Mm-hmm.
where she is it oh, sorry, I may be thinking of a different conversation.
No spoilers.
Yep. Yep. Different conversation. It's a very similar conversation. However, it is a different conversation.
Is this the one where they in the training room? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah.
Yeah.
But still, this is where we learn the reasons for why she was with Cassius.
Yes.
Why she was
Yes.
with the Sovereign.
Yeah.
And it was to protect her family. I mean, the best line in that is when she's can you think for a moment that I was hurt and I fell into Cassius's arms because basically to try and forget you. And I was like, yeah, I can get that. And she was like, well, shove it up your ass because that's not what I was trying to do. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a genius, and I don't just say that. It's a proven fact. I'm probably the smartest person you know outside of my twin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The other line she has in this one that I really like outside of that one is where she says something and then she pauses to gather her thoughts and then she says, no, it's not your turn to speak just because I paused.
Yes!
It's like,
yes! Yes! As a woman, that is the, because every woman has been in a conversation where you just pause just for a moment and the guy dips in and it's like, no. But most of the time we just go, uh-huh. And she actually says it of like, not your time to speak. Just because that is the quintessential moment. Oh, God, yes. Yeah. Yep.
So what I'm hearing is from Skipper, thank you, Pierce.
Pierce writes women well. This is it. We have seen this. When he's asked about it, he will talk about how his mom was the breadwinner of the family. She is the first female to, I believe, be she ran an entire TV station, manager, whatever, and they used to follow her around the country because of her job. She is fierce. And then if you know Blair is fierce. Blair is Pierce's sister. Pierce writes women well because he has strong women in his family. And I just wish that every author could find, because all women are strong, we just have our different strengths, we have our whatever, but find the ability to write us well, because majority don't. And that's why, like, so to go back to last week with the complex female characters, I don't want a strong female character, because what happens a lot of the time is people are like, oh yeah, she's physically strong or she can handle this. It's like, no, I want complex. I want her to have layers. I want her to have feelings. And Pierce does that so well. And gets those intricacies of, you know, even with Victra, of being this badass who's, you know, knows her place, knows where she stands with the men on the bridge of the ship. But then she's got the vulnerabilities as well of like, you think I'm a cold-hearted bitch because I have to be this way in order to get my place. He's able to write that. In this scene, we see that Mustang has been this smart woman this entire time, but she's not just a smart woman. She has feelings, she has emotions, and then still putting her in a room with all these men, it's like, no. She gets the ability to talk as well. She gets those feelings. Yeah, 100%. When it comes to complex female characters, Pierce nails it. I think it's because of his upbringing, but I don't think you necessarily need to be brought up in that situation. Just go outside, touch some grass, and talk to the local woman. And they will show you why we are a complex female. Like, yep. There's my rant of the day. Thank
It's
you.
a good rant that needs to be said.
It is.
Time to
Yep.
time.
That is a fantastic rant.
I continue to read sci-fi fantasy a lot, and it's something that is not brought up often. Tolkien did his best, but he wrote few females. This is going to be a tangent now about sci-fi fantasy and complex female characters. Tolkien wrote few females. The ones he did were complex and had their strengths, but they were limited. That's obviously in the 1930s, 40s. C.S. Lewis sucked at it. Let's not even put him into the conversation. Quite frankly, some of the other recent, including the women, suck at it. But Pierce nails it. And most of who Del Rey is producing right now, Kevin Hearn, Sylvain Neuvel, Delilah Dawson, are so good at it. Delilah Dawson being female, so that technically she should be able to write them. But they're so good at it. And thank you to them. And to those others out there, step up. We have complex feelings just as well as men. We don't just wear bikinis. It's fine.
It's
This
funny
is
you
very
mentioned C.S.
strong.
Lewis, because I just think of Lion Witch of the Wardrobe, where they all four get a special gift, and the two guys get things to help them fight, and the two girls get things to help summon people to fight for them.
Yes.
It's
Yep. Technically one gets a bow, but also, yeah, she, like, does not use it.
yeah.
Yep.
We
Anyway,
get a little bit more
back on
world
track.
building too. We learn the high suicide rate of pinks. We learn how obsidians are controlled.
Yes.
The
How they manipulate.
tragically high, which Darrow notes, the tragically high.
And
suicide
instead of
rate
unfortunately high.
Most would say if inefficient.
Inefficient, that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it's a nod to the book, but it's a very 1984-ish scene which he talks about how different colors come together to. We learn that they're not supposed to do that, but each one for the first time thinks that they're taking this leap to be married or be a partner with a different color, because it gets completely wiped out, and that's almost exactly what happens in 1984.
Yes.
They think the first ones to kind of step out of line. I don't know if that's a direct reference or not, but it's what made me think of it.
Yeah. No, good call out on that. Yeah, it's the first we hear of, and that some carvings have been successful between them.
Yeah.
And that otherwise it's not possible. Gold is with gold, green is with green.
Mm-hmm.
You can't mix colors.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Darrow, he says, you know, how many things like this have happened 100 times, 1,000. They're just scrubbed from the record books. And then Darrow says it's terrible, and Mustang says it's beautiful, and Darrow is immediately like, why do you think that's beautiful? And then she goes on to explain it like, nobody knows about this. It's just, everybody's taking that leap. And it's like, yeah, you know what? That is kind of beautiful.
Yeah.
And it makes you think, could she be okay with Darrow being who he is?
Mm-hmm.
Like, she obviously mentions a lot of things that align with Darrow's plan for the future, but we don't actually know. And then I think she does a good job with bringing the Jackal back into focus. Like, we get all of these chapters where he seems like this really nice guy. She comes back like, you can't trust him at all. Like,
Yeah.
he will backstab you. He is dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not a man like you. He's something else. When he looks at us, when he looks at people, he sees sacks of bone and meat. We don't really exist to him. He is and then she says, Darrow, listen to me. He is the monster they don't know how to write stories about. You cannot trust him. It's like, that's like to say about your twin.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Like, you really believe that. So it's like, and Pierce is the one who knows how to write stories about him.
Yep. And then who do we meet right after this?
Yeah, and it's literally the next paragraph. Ragnar says, there's gold breath.
Which is crazy that he
in
can
Darrow's
tell
room.
Breathing.
Yeah. He's like, someone breathes inside. Theodora, probably. She's my pink steward. You'll like her. Gold breath. It's like, what?
Mm-hmm.
What does gold breath smell like?
Only Ragnar knows.
That's
Yeah.
right. And then despite what he says to Mustang, he decides to continue the pact with Adrius.
Yeah, we don't get much Adrius here. Like, 3-4 paragraphs type thing.
He does have the clever line, I am rather threatening, and he's in a bathrobe and slippers.
Yeah.
That's a lot of stuff in 10 chapters.
So much stuff.
Yeah, I think this might be the most packed set of chapters.
Mm-hmm. And
You say that until we get to Dark Age, and then I'm fucking every...
That's all. I was going to qualify by saying in this trilogy.
Yeah, in the trilogy, yeah.
But, yeah.
No, the beginning of Morningstar to me was going to be... It's going to be packed. But either way, up until this point, this is the most we have seen. And it is a lot.
Yes, it is.
Well, this is, like, we are at now 2 hours of recording. And we could probably deep dive into other things, but...
Yeah, there's a whole lot more I'm sure we could talk about, but I think a lot of it would end up, extending further into the book, and I think we should probably avoid that for now, but...
I mean, we basically skipped the entire rescue, so...
Well, that was it. I was like, we can't go into the rescue. We can't freaking go into...
God, yeah.
We are about relationships and spaceships. And, like, the issue, I think, also in this is we got a bunch of the spaceships, which is the real first time we've talked about spaceships. So thank you.
Yeah.
that we got to talk about the spaceships, because that's what I'm here for. Crescent's here for the relationships. I'm here for the spaceships. Yeah.
That's a
It is-
T-shirt, by the way. I'm here for relationships and spaceships.
I'm one of the Violets. Please put
Damn
this.
it. Yeah.
We're making
Please
merch
do.
now. We don't.
Yeah. All right.
We don't have Fade to Obsidian merch, but I feel like at this point we should. We're putting that
Yeah,
on merch.
That's definitely a conversation we should have.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
What?
Yep. But yeah, it has been fabulous. Any
Yes. thank you.
last thoughts?
No, I think we've covered everything. Like I said, the amount
Yes.
of world building and character building, and it doesn't feel rushed. Everything gets its due diligence. And like I said, the foreshadowing throughout this book is really good if you know
Immaculate.
what to look for when you
Yeah.
go through the reread.
Yep.
So, no, I appreciate you letting me talk about these chapters because they're some of my favorites in the first trilogy.
We have loved having you, first off, because
honestly,
tomorrow I'm literally just
it's been
taking this
fantastic.
video and putting it directly onto YouTube. There is no editing. There is one
Yeah.
piece I know that Crescent took a little bit too long to look up in the book, and I'm going to have to cut that for the...
My bad.
It's all fine. I will cut that for the audio clip, and this is the best version we've ever done, guys. Everyone
Yeah,
who wants to
this
come on
is-
this show,
This
is it.
This is farm
This
to
is it.
table. You're gonna get what you get.
I'm glad to hear Crescent said I had to be on my A game since you had to record it or edit it and put it up pretty quickly.
This is
come
being
back.
recorded Monday night, and Skipper is going to be editing this tomorrow and for Wednesday. So, yeah.
Mwah. You've done wonderfully.
You've been fantastic.
Hogging, you
it's
come
all that
back
audiobook
whenever you
listening.
want. Whenever you want, you come back. Because, I mean,
Yeah.
I was a little, the two of you are the most experienced people in probably the den. So I was a little worried that I would not be up to snuff, but I feel like I've done my job and you two have done more than your job. So thank you. Come back whenever you want.
Sounds good. But only if you cut out the fact that I forgot Lancer as a word. But
Ooh, we'll see how the editing process works. You brought it back up, and now it's going to be awkward for me to cut it a
You don't
second
have to
time.
Yeah, you got to cut it
No,
out twice. No,
Ooh,
not happening.
ooh.
That's okay. I'll fall on that sword.
Yeah.
No, I'll definitely
Or
be
that
back,
razor.
especially as we get later on, because my favorite character has not made an appearance.
Ooh, message me your favorite character so we can. No, I know because of out of context, don't I? Yeah, I
Yep.
know. Okay. So Iron Gold, you will be back.
I'll probably be back before then if you need me, but I'll
Yeah.
always be around. But
Perfect.
I'm sure those other chapters could come up. But
Yeah. For a commercial break for the den, so the reason Hawking was even on this episode is because we did not have a guest, and he happened to be in out of context, and we stole him directly out of that and was like, "It's you, congrats." So join the Howlers.
You're in here
Den.
right now. You have fantastic views.
We need you.
Come talk. Yeah.
you guys made it really
So-
easy. So
Yeah, so for everyone listening, join the Howlers Den if you're not in it, so that we can steal you as well for your 2 cents on whatever character or piece you want, or forced into it sometimes. Thank you, Hawking. It has been
Anytime.
fascinating.
Yes. And thank all of you for joining us this week
Yes.
on Fade to Obsidian.
Thank you so much.